This is the scary part because as an entrepreneur, when you're starting out, you're buying your first deal, you're buying your second deal. What do we call it, Josh? We call it the I'm a mentality. And there's the I'm a guy sitting down over there with that big smile. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And you need to do that in the beginning. It's just part of life. You need to learn. You need to learn everything. But it comes a point at around 75 units, believe it or not, around 75 to 100, you need to start hiring out because you will burn yourself out. You will become the doctor or you'll become the older person who says, I got into real estate because it was supposed to be cash flowing. It was supposed to help me with the lifestyle. But what happens was they did not sit back and figure out how to scale the business. That first hire, I'm going to tell everybody, it's scary. And the only advice that I can give you when you're making your first hire is when you're becoming overwhelmed and you're starting to do tasks that don't make sense, sending out emails, editing a video, all these things. For me at the restaurant, washing dishes. Really, I'm washing dishes, doing $10 an hour work, bookkeeping, when I can offline that to somebody else and reclaim my time. Because as entrepreneurs, time is one of the most important things. We're always taught, leverage your money, OPM, OPM. Well, as entrepreneurs, they're leveraging their other people's time by hiring, making that big hire. So that's really important. Figuring out that first hire. People, systems, and cultures is what we all talk about. At this point, you're starting to figure out the people in your group, the people in your community, the systems you're starting to implement, those small systems. And I'm talking about at the restaurant, I didn't have any systems really. When I onboarded an employee, I didn't have an employee manual. I didn't tell that employee, specifically exactly all those responsibilities. Something even smaller than that. When somebody picks up the phone, are they picking up the phone the same exact way every time? When they're walking into the restaurant, are you greeting them the same way? I had no systems. That's why I had to be there 24/7 because I was the business. I didn't sit back and say, let me start implementing systems into the business. And culture for me was huge. Josh had just mentioned scaling up the book. They helped us out with creating our core values. I think there's a slide going through the core values. For us, it was really, really important, those core values, because you're going to hire and fire from the core values, and you're going to live your core values every day. People first. That's what we figure. That's what we focus on in Jake and Gino. Extreme ownership. You know what? We're going to get on this webinar, no hell or high water. Josh is at an event right now in Tampa. He took out his lunch to jump on here because he's in extreme ownership. He's in last one, make it happen. So that's what our core values are. These books, like I said, we mentioned, look at the traction book, look at the scaling book, and start implementing those systems. Josh, what do you want to add to that as far as making that first hire?
Yeah, so this is a point to hammer home. And before you talk about hiring in your business, I want to talk about hiring in your personal life and kind of how I got this example. So when I was in the W-2 world, like I said, I was doing very well financially. And I got to a point where I couldn't trade any more time for money. And I was just burned out with time. And so I had one of the owners of the company I was working at come up to me when a coworker and I were talking about, he actually said I should hire a maid. And I was like, dude, my hands work just fine. Why in the world would I do that? I had this middle-class mindset. Well, what the owner of the company came up to me and said was he had me write down, and guys, I want everyone to do this, write down MWA. Now draw a circle around it and a line through it. Now that's minimum wage activities. So like Gino said, $10 an hour work. And he said, anytime you find yourself doing something that you can pay someone, minimum wage or close to for it, I want you to hire it out. And he had asked me, what I'm going to make that year and what my time is worth per hour. And he went through this analogy that really hammered it home. And so let's say I can hire the housekeeper for 15 an hour, yet my time in the business is worth 60 an hour. Well, at that point, I can work 1 hour in the business and I can pay for 4 hours if someone's cleaning the house. Now I'm net positive 3 hours there, meaning I can spend that in my business to work and create more money, or spend that with people that I care about and doing activities that I like, right? With friends, family. And the real way to look at this, again, our time is more valuable than our money. You look at someone like Steve Jobs, had all the money in the world, ran out of time. As entrepreneurs, we trade money to free up time all day. When Gino has Jeff Bezos on the slide, picture and imagine if Jeff had to deliver every Tesla by hand. We laugh at how ridiculous an idea that is. Why are you doing that in your business?
I love that, Josh. You made me write MWA in my paper and actually circle it out. I feel like a fool. I'm like, well, I got something cool here. And it's so true. And let me tell you, everyone out there, I had the limiting belief. And I know a lot of people out there are probably saying the same thing that I did. I can't do that. That's not possible. I was trained by my dad, who, like I said, was an immigrant, who would say, you have to do that. You have to be at the business. You do it better than anybody else. And you may be able to do something better than anybody else, but I'd rather have 6 people doing 80% of what I can do. And you can see the scalability. If I don't cut the grass as great as they do, it's okay. They're doing it. I'm able to focus on something that I love to do. I love to educate. I love to create content. I love to get on podcasts. I love to do coaching calls. That's what I'm gravitating towards in the business. Jake is doing the property management day to day. And every day, our lives are connecting, our lives are just colliding together because we're going through refis, we're getting on property management calls, but we're gravitating towards what we both love to do. But at the same time, we're helping each other out in all the other businesses. And that's what's starting to happen in this, I guess, part of the phase where you're making your first hire and you're getting rid of those tasks that you hate. How many times I talk to Jake and Gino students who are like, I have a bookkeeper, I'm doing all the bookkeeping, I'm on QuickBooks. I'm like, time out. First of all, this is when you should be looking at a platform like Appfolio or maybe Buildium, something where you have property management software and you have a bookkeeper or a property manager doing that work for you and you review it. Now, in the beginning, like I said, we did it all ourselves. We learned it. But then as we started getting busier and starting underwriting more deals, because in this game, in this business, it's all about getting deal flow and it's all about raising capital. Flow of money and flow of deals. That's what you're focused on. How are you going to be doing that if you're washing dishes in the kitchen or you're out there cutting your own grass? That's the reality. So at this point, making that first hire is really, really important. Wow, Josh, I want you to hit on the core values, scaling your business.
Yeah. So, guys, what these are is rather than having rules which are inflexible, core values are what we look at as an operating system for our employees, for our culture, and even the way we live our life personally. This is what we hire and fire on, right? And it's a really good way, even more than just words on the wall. You can see I'm literally wearing a Make It Happen wristband right now. This is who we are to our core. And this is what we know is going to create success for us, our team members, for our personal life, for our students. And we want to lead these by example. And that's the key word. And something we do within the organization to celebrate that is every Monday we get on a meeting and as a team, we share core value shares, right? We recognize high performers based on these core values and operating off them.
I love that, Josh. I want everyone on the call to really think about what their core values are. Start working on your core values. I have one for our family and I have one for the business. And this is one thing that I faulted on when I didn't have the restaurant because I didn't have a way to make that first hire. I was hiring nilly-willy, as they say, and it even bleeds into your vendors. Who are you working with your vendors? Are you working with, for us, reputable vendors who are going to make it happen, who don't give us an excuse that, you know what, I can't come today because we don't want to work with that vendor. And it's the same thing with employees. So for us, core values are huge. And also, think about a mission statement. I mean, our mission statement, it took us a while to come up with it, is we create communities that allow people to become the best version of themselves. That's what our mission statement is. And that bleeds through all of the different levels of our business, whether you're talking about the education company, the property management company, the syndication company, the capital company. All those core values permeate throughout the entire organization. Now, this power wheel that I was just mentioning, this is what we've been able to create through the multifamily investments. You start out with one investment. This is the end game I'm talking about. Right now, your business is starting to scale. As you can see all throughout it, we call it multifaceted multifamily. And what's great about this is all of these, different layers, or like we say, these different revenue streams, they all come back to the asset. So once we bought that asset, that first asset, we had the asset and then we had the property management company. So we had 2 streams of revenue already for the first investment. By the third investment, we had about 200 units. We decided, let's write a book. And like I said, with the core values, we knew it was all about extreme ownership and make it happen. So we wrote a book. We started a podcast and ultimately started an education platform. So that was the next revenue generator for us. Then a couple of years down the road, we decided to start syndicating. That is the next level of income flow coming in. So you have the property management company, the education company, the syndication company, which is generating fees also. And then ultimately you have the capital company, which is really cool. We're doing mortgages for students out there. So if anyone, wants to get a quote on a loan or a deal they're doing, reach out to us. Rand Capital can help you out with that. And the only one we don't have on here is Rand Cares, which is our charitable arm, which ultimately it ends up, you have that excess revenue, you're always wanting to give back. So for us, the charitable arm has been really, really cool for us. Josh, anything on the power wheel?
No, love it. So it's just vertical integration at its finest, right? Being able to service all aspects. And as Gino said, that leads to a control basically, and it's dominating an industry. But real quick, Gino, we have one question from Matthew. So he says, from your experience, Gino, what markets, property class, and property size have been the most profitable?
So it's a great question because it's always changing. So I didn't go over the three pillars of real estate, but real quick, the three pillars of real estate. Well, this is very relevant to what you're asking. You need to know the three pillars. The first one is the market cycle. What part of the cycle are you in? When you're in a buyer's market cycle back in 13, 14, 15, 16, you're buying assets that are B, B, C assets. They're a little bit older because you're buying them at a lower price, right? And you're riding the wave of appreciation up. You can fix them up. You can either refi them or you can actually, sell them or do whatever. And we've been holding them for long term. So for us, we like the B and C space even now. The problem is that the B and Cs, a lot of them are so overpriced and people are overpaying for them. And you're at the top end of the market. What you need to be careful with right now is what we call the CapEx tsunami. A lot of these properties that are older, 60s and 70s, have significant deferred maintenance, whether it's, you have cast iron plumbing, you have roofs that are old, you have driveways, you have, hot water heaters, and you have AC units that are 30 years old that need to be replaced. Well, you're already paying for cap for these things, a really high price. You need to put significant amount of money into them. And then what happens if valuations drop or rents don't increase like they are right now? They're stabilized and we go into a recession or you can't collect rents. Then you got that turn down. The only thing that will really help you from that is getting that long-term fixed rate financing. That's what we're looking for in this part of the cycle. Try to get that debt. Debt is very inexpensive right now. You're getting 3% interest rates. So for us, to answer your question, looking at the market cycle, looking what part of the market, what market you're investing in, we're looking right now at assets that are a little bit newer. 80s, 90s builds. We like brick. We like townhomes, two beds. We love that unit mix. We're looking right now, like I said, six caps. That's the assets that we're trying to buy right now. So, Josh, one last thing. I'm holding up the Honeybee. So, if anyone wants to learn about those multiple streams of revenue that we were talking about, just email me at gino@jakeandgino.com, and I'll send you out a copy of the Honeybee. It's gino@jakeandgino.com, and I'll send you out a PDF copy, and it'll give you the story. It's a business parable. It's really talking about, a salesman just like Jake. His name is Noah. And he is, the analogy is like the honeybee. He's just going out there. The honeybee, what the honeybee does, all the honeybee does is just make honey every single day and doesn't question it. He just goes to work, shows up, and makes honey. And who gets paid? Ultimately, Tom, who's the beekeeper who owns the hive. And Tom shares his stories of, trials and tribulations of how he started out small and how Noah ended up starting out with an Airbnb in his basement. Then he bought his first deal. Then he bought his second deal. Then he goes and asks Tom, how do you do it? And Tom says, no, like we just talked about, not how, who do you do it? Start hiring people out and start scaling out. So it's just a really cool story. And then ultimately ends up with Noah being really successful and just, starting a charitable organization. We're pulling that whole power wheel and pulling it all together in an analogy in the story.
Awesome. Yeah, we're just about out of time. I wanted to share with Matthew and everybody else too. We actually just put this together. It's a cap rate calculator. It takes in account the CBRE cap rate surveys that they put out every year over the last 10 years. So we compiled all that data, and you can actually see how cap rates have compressed in these different tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 markets. So a pretty cool tool, so you can see like the difference in potential value left in those different markets. But Josh, Gino, we really appreciate you guys spending your last hour with us. Is there anywhere you'd like to direct people to? Any way that people can contact you? How should people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so guys, we have a few different ways. Like Gino said, we're vertically integrated. So if you'd like our help building your multifamily business, go to jakeandgino.com/apply. We do work with students. We have live events. Actually, we'll be in Austin, Texas this weekend at a Money Mixer, one of our Jake and Gino student events. If you're looking for help with financing a deal, like I said, we own a loan brokerage there. Email me, josh@jakeandgino.com. I'll connect you with our director of finance, Will Coleman. And then if you have questions, feedback, anything we can do, feel free to reach out. Again, my email is josh@jakeandgino.com. And listen, Dustin, Hayden, I want to thank both of you for allowing us to make the time and present here. And guys, I just want to say this, I've known Dustin for a little while. Hayden just met recently. They're really good guys, and it's you guys are investing yourself with your time here. That's what high performers do. So keep making it happen.
I want to echo those sentiments, guys. I want to thank you for having us on. It's been a lot of fun. And if anybody has any questions for me about my specific journey, about trials and tribulations, like I said, hiring, what kind of market are you looking at? My email is gino@jakeandgino.com. So please reach out to me as well.
All right. Well, yeah, appreciate you guys being on, and look forward to hanging out in person real soon. So,
thanks, guys. Thank you, everybody. Matthew, thanks for being on. Appreciate you guys.
yeah,
Take care.
Appreciate you guys. Take care. Have a good rest of the week. See ya.